Hello, everyone. Welcome to your May 4 Thought. I'm Lauren.
I'm Nathan. I know you probably are aware that we're in a market downturn. Not fun.
Never had fun.
I think every time you go through one of these things, it feels bad. We wanted to talk a little bit today about maybe why it feels the way it feels,
So it's extra personal this time.
and then give you some tools that we think can help you stay on track to be successful in your financial plan.
Yeah.
So I would say, why it feels so personal. We'll start there. Now, first off, I think one of the reasons why it feels so personal is just we're hardwired to avoid risk as humans. We don't want to have losses anywhere. And that's why, any 10% loss, let's say, temporary as it may be in the market, feels twice as bad as any equivalent 10% gain would be, because we don't want to have losses ever. We want to avoid those. But unfortunately, that's kind of part of being a long-term investor. Is you're going to have periods. They don't last forever, but you're going to have periods of time where account values go down in value. I think another reason that it feels bad maybe this time around, Lauren, is we just haven't had a lot of volatility.
That's right.
In the last couple of years.
Yep.
2023, 2024, the market seemed to just go straight up. And when you have that period, you can get lulled into a false sense of, oh, well, this is just how it is. My account values are just going to go up at 10% a year,
That's right.
15% a year, or 20%
Yeah.
a year. But that's really abnormal. It's really more normal to have corrections, to have a 10% sell-off, to have 10 to 20% sell-offs even. Those things, unfortunately, are the risk premium that's kind of built into the market. And the reason why you get long-term results is holding through those periods of time.
Yes.
I think the 24-hour news cycle, I think that compounds everything. I mean, we're talking about a moment in time where anytime you pick up your phone, if you pick up your iPad, if you turn on your TV, if you're listening to whatever podcast you're consuming,
Yeah.
I feel like it is everywhere.
Information overload.
It is all the time. Because of our ages, we've lived through a period where that wasn't the case, and now it is the case. So we've experienced both. I think one was better than the other. That's just my personal opinion. But now here we are,
The olden days.
and we're not going back. So I think you have to learn to kind of manage that, but that certainly does not help. Now that I've said kind of, hey, maybe why this feels worse, maybe than you thought it was last time, or you just feel it feels very jarring to be in this moment. What are some common behavioral pitfalls that you can give us maybe to avoid during this period that we see other clients go through and that we've learned from?
That's right. Yeah. Nathan and I have been doing this a long time. We're laughing at our previous firm. We both started in 2001. So if you have the history books, you can kind of see the market was definitely in a different place then than it is today.
Sure.
Even though today feels terrible, I can tell you 2001 felt a lot worse. And there were some things back then that we saw, and we've seen them consistently that you could call common pitfalls. So number one is people panicking. So, emotions and feelings are never wrong, but I think reacting to emotions and feelings can be wrong.
I can put you in a bad way.
That can put you in a really bad way. So I would say panic selling is the number one thing that we sell. People immediately reacting, maybe not rethinking what their strategy is, maybe not talking that through. That can be a really, really tough one. And then Nathan was talking about the 24-hour news cycle, and maybe you're hearing a lot more voices than you used to hear.
Right.
So it's easier to seek out those voices that match up with what your emotions are telling you.
So true.
So I think a lot of times people call that confirmation bias. You have a thought process in your head and you say, I'm going to seek out as many voices as possible that are saying that's the right decision to make. And again, we try to communicate it. Those voices aren't talking to you, right? They're talking to a broad audience that doesn't know about your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, where you are today, where you want to be in the future. There's probably very few people that actually know that. And if you're going to be talking to people, maybe those should be the people that you talk to,
Right.
People that care about your long-term well-being.
Right.
So there's probably a lot more. We could talk about herd mentality. We could talk about over trading in the market, but I really think those two hit the highlights.
Those are big. I think panic selling, and I think going back to say 2020, that was a moment in time that people felt a lot of panic, and that was a year that actually, if you'd owned stocks broadly, you had a positive year in 2020. And I think people forget that, to be honest.
I don't think anybody would have predicted that. If you had said, hey, there's going to be a global pandemic that's never happened before, we have no idea what's going to happen. Companies are going to do this and this, human behavior is going to change. But guess what? you're going to have a great year in the market.
Yeah, a lot of,
That would have seemed very, very odd.
a lot of uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty. You talk about times now, people feel uncertain about a lot of things for various reasons, a lot of uncertainty then too. And if you panic sold during that time period, I'm glad that that was kind of your number one thing, because
Yeah.
I remember in 2020 trying to talk clients into, hey, don't panic sell right now. It would be a bad thing. And as soon as 6 months, it would have been a very bad thing. And as soon as a year, you'd look back and say, wow, I really missed out on an opportunity. I
Yeah.
should have stayed.
And that could happen again. So, I just said it. Nathan and I have been doing this longer than since 2001, but we'll just focus on the time frame that we work together. And I'm happy to say that we've helped a lot of people achieve their goals, helped a lot of people achieve their dreams. And we've also picked up, other than common pitfalls, we've picked up a lot of things that have helped successful investors stay successful. And since I took all the pitfalls, I figured I'd let Nathan talk a little bit about some of the ones that actually were positive for people.
Yeah, so I think a lot of times when you're experiencing a market sell-off of any sort, anything that we're in, 10% or more, they're pretty common. They never feel good, but here's some things that we think can help. Having a plan, first off, is number one. Everyone we work with has a financial plan. Revisit the plan. Revisit your why,
Revisit the plan.
as you would say.
Yeah. What's your why? What's your why?
So why are you investing in the first place?
Are you trying to
Save
retire?
it.
Yeah. Are you trying to retire someday?
You're trying to put your kids through school.
Trying to buy a house?
Are you trying to buy a house? Are you getting you have a vacation home in your future? These are aspirations that we want to help you achieve. These are documented in the plan. The plan is important. The planning process is even more important, because you go through the process of really truly understanding your why, your reasons for doing what you're doing. Those things haven't changed just because the market's changed.
That's right.
And I think those are two things to really separate out. So revisiting your plan. Focus on timing, time in the market.
Yeah, not timing the market.
Not timing the market.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people think it's easy to see, hey, it's raining outside.
That's right. There's some clouds on the horizon.
So
I'm going to get out now.
I'm going to buy my galoshes and I'm going to, and
As soon as the sun comes out, I'm back in the market
Yeah.
again.
But it's not that simple.
Not that easy.
And we know that does not work. And if it did, we would help you do it, but that does not work. So not trying to time in and out of the market. I think if you can have a portfolio that can endure a period of volatility, maybe withstand that, and know that, hey, if your portfolio value decreases over a period of time, you don't own anything that isn't going to eventually rise again in value. You don't invest in things that don't rise again in value. And so it's important to understand that you're going to have a period of volatility. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, this is a cyclical event. It happens over again. And from where you are to those goals you have in the future, you're going to experience many times like this. Revisiting the plan, focusing on time in the market. The longer you're invested, the more of these that you go through. First off, the more perspective you have and the easier it is to deal with. And number two, in order to achieve any kind of long-term return, if it's a 6%, if it's a 8%, if it's 9%, whatever that is, you're almost never, when you look at the long-term average of the market and you said, let's say it averages 8% a year, you're almost never going to get 8% in a given year, because you're going to get the average return. The average return incorporates a wide range of returns that might be 20% or negative 12,
That's right.
3, 6, and 7, and you're going to get that average. But in order to get that average, you've got to spend time in the market.
That's right.
Not trying to time in and out of the market.
Let's do one more.
Yeah, let's do one more. Limit how much time you're focusing on your accounts day to day, because we're talking about all these long-term things and time in the market and looking at your plan, and your plan has long-term goals. Then why are you looking at your portfolio every single day and expecting, hey, well, today the market value was down? Oh, and you just mentioned going on a trip to Florida. I just went on our kids' spring break. We went to Florida. You wouldn't ask how far that is in feet. You'd probably think about how many miles away that, if you had to travel that, or how long it was going to take you to get there in hours on the plane ride or in travel, not in seconds. That's right. So you wouldn't want to measure the performance of any portfolio day to day.
Yep. Yeah. So I think we covered a lot of the pitfalls, right? Panic selling, right? Confirmation bias, some other items. Hopefully we've given you some extra tools in the toolbox. Revisit the plan, right? Remember that you're diversified. Remember that the portfolio is set up for your goals and objectives, not for some index or some benchmark. And it's not about listening to people, the talking heads, doing what they do to try to get you to tune back in tomorrow or the next 5 minutes. It's really about what do you want to achieve for you, your friends, and your family, and how can you best do it based on specific goals and objectives that you have, and then we build the portfolio around.
And if you're not going to, or if you're going to try and limit an understanding to those voices that are giving you information, they're not speaking directly to you, but someone who can would be someone who knows intimately your plan, your dreams, what you want to accomplish in the future. That would be Lauren and myself. So we want to be able to talk it out with you. We want to be able to not only have these kind of communications, but have a meeting with you. If you need an extra meeting to go through something, I think, as you would say, emotions are real, and you can't ignore emotions. You want to accept that this time is tough. It can be a very challenging time, even for a seasoned investor. And we want to be there to offer perspective, to offer support, and to help you do the things that we know are going to help you be successful.
Yeah, that's right. So reach out, let us know what you're struggling with. What are the biggest challenges you're having? And then, we're going to stay consistent in our message to you. And that's stay disciplined, right? Stay calm, stick to the program, and tomorrow's going to be a brighter day. So like we talked about earlier, we know that there's a lot of people out there trying to get your attention to listen to X, Y, and Z. And we appreciate all the time you give us every month on these newsletters. So thank you again. We appreciate you, and we look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
Come on.